morning. So today we are continuing Unit 6, which is Equations and Inequalities. And we are doing Module 6.2 today, which is one-step addition equations. And you can look at our learning target. I can write and solve addition equations for real-world and mathematical problems by using the subtraction property of equality. And the vocabulary that we will be learning is inverse operations and the subtraction property of equality. So if you look at the inverse operations, these are basically used to solve equations, and inverse operations, they undo each other. And for example, addition and subtraction are inverse operations because what is the opposite of addition? Subtraction. What is the opposite of subtraction? It would be addition. What's the opposite of multiplication? That would be division. And what's the opposite of division? That would be multiplication. So these are called inverse operations, and they are used to undo each other. And that's what, since we are doing one-step addition equations, we are going to undo that with the subtraction property of equality, because that is the inverse of addition. Subtraction is the inverse of addition. Okay, so basically what is the subtraction property of equality? It's when you subtract the same number from each side of an equation, the two sides will remain the same. Okay, for example, if I give you something like your numbers are 8 is equal to 8, right? So if I subtract 5 from this side and I do the same thing on the other side, is my equation going to change? No, because it is giving me exactly the same answer. 3 is equal to 3. So once again, the subtraction property of equality, if you're subtracting the same number from each side of the equation, the two sides are going to remain equal, all right? And that's basically what the subtraction property of equality is, which we are going to use in this lesson, okay? So I'm going to take you to my whiteboard just so that you understand how to write out an equation that is provided to you. So there are certain things that I would like you to remember. So if you're learning to write addition equations, please look over here what it says. You can write equations to represent many real-world problems involving addition. And the table below shows the steps for writing an equation to represent a real-world problem. So there are three parts. You have the words, the variable that you're going to use, and then writing out the equation. So for words, you're going to describe the mathematics of the problem. Use only the most important words in the problem. You are going to define a variable to represent the unknown quantity. Remember, a variable is any letter in the alphabet which is representing a number, or it is standing for a number, X, Y, Z, etc. Okay? Now, an equation, you're going to translate the words into an algebraic equation. So let's look at this example. Okay, so it is saying that in a recent summer Olympics, okay, in the recent summer Olympics, the United States won 23 more medals in swimming than Australia. The United States won a total of 33 swimming medals. We're going to write an addition equation that can be used to determine the number of medals won by Australia. So if I'm looking at the words and describing the mathematics of the problem, okay, if I'm looking at this, all right, so let's see what is really important. Okay, so it's medals for Australia, okay, which is here, okay, the medals for Australia, and plus 23 equals 33 medals for the US, and that's what it's saying, right? So we have medals for Australia plus 23 because United States won 23 more than Australia. okay? And so, what's the total amount? Is 33. So we are going to use a variable. We are going to let M represent the number of medals for Australia, okay? So we are going to use the variable as M. Okay, this is the medals for Australia. So that's what we are using as our variable, okay? And then it is saying medals for Australia plus 23, okay? This is going to equal a total amount, which is how much? 33. So when I'm writing an equation, this is what I'm trying to get at by looking at what is super important in that sentence and what it's asking, and then I'm just writing it out as an equation. All right, so let's do another example, and let's say I go here and then I am going to all right, so let's look at this one. It's saying together Ruben and Tariq downloaded 245 and 5/10 megabytes of music. So the total amount is 245 and 5/10. Okay, Ruben downloaded 132 megabytes of that total. So just Ruben was 132 megabytes. Okay, so we are going to write an addition equation that can be used to find how many megabytes of music Tariq downloaded. So first we are going to describe the mathematics of the problem, so the words of this. So we know that Ruben and Tariq downloaded a total of 245 and 5/10. So that equals this much, whatever it is. The total amount is going to be this much. All right. And then of this total, Ruben alone downloaded 132 megabytes. So only Ruben was that much, but the total amount is this much. All right. So now we are going to come up with a variable, and we are going to say define the variable. So let M, let's say M, because we're talking about megabytes of music, M is going to represent what Tariq is downloading. Okay, so what Tariq is downloading. Okay, so Tariq's download. There we go. And so we're going to write an equation. We know that this much has already been downloaded by Ruben. So we have 132 plus what Tariq is downloading. The total amount is 245 and 5/10. So here is the equation that is my final answer, how to write it down. So we're writing these addition equations. Okay, so now we are going to learn how to solve an addition equation. Okay, so this was how to write the equation. So I'm going to go on over here so we can learn how to solve an equation. All right, so here we go. Now what we're going to do is let's say we have something like this given to us. X plus 4 is equal to 7. All right, so I'm going to show you different ways that this can be demonstrated and how we can solve this. And so if I have this, I'm going to first use algebra tiles to show you if I have x plus 4 is equal to 7, how do I solve for that x? Okay, so I'm going to show you this simple one so that you understand how different methods can be used. Okay, whatever works for you. So to model the equation, I am going to place one x tile because that is x, right? So I'm going to have one tile of x. All right, and I'm going to have how many tiles of 4? We are going to have, so how many tiles over here of the ones? That is 4, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these are x plus 4, all right? And this entire thing, this is equal to what? 7. So I am going to place 7 1-tiles on the right side. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, to isolate the variable or the x tile, we are going to remove, because remember, opposite of addition is subtraction. So we are going to remove the same number of 1-tiles from each side of this equation that I have modeled until the x tile is by itself. Okay? So let's see what we're doing here now. So if I am removing 1, 2, 3, 4, I am also going to be removing 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I'm removing 4 from this side, I'm going to remove 4 from this side, okay? Then I can just do this. I'm removing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So we are trying to isolate the x. So now, what do we see over here? There are 3 1-tiles left over here. So therefore, we know that x is equal to 3. X is equal to 3. So this is by using the model, and that's what I wanted to show you. And then another method to solve is by using the inverse operations that I was talking to you about, which are operations which undo each other, and the inverse of addition is subtraction. So that's what we are going to use to undo this, by using the subtraction property of equality. Okay, so when you solve an addition equation by subtracting the same number from each side of the equation, you're using the subtraction property of equality. So let's go ahead and we are going to solve this equation. And so if I say x plus 4 is equal to 7, remember we are trying to isolate the variable. So we are going to take this part and we are going to see what is the inverse of 4. So it is going to be the subtraction property of equality. So I am going to subtract 4 from both sides. So minus 4, it's an equation, it's a balance. Whatever I am going to do on one side of the equation, because it's a balance, I've got to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So then I'm going to subtract 4 from this side too. Okay? And then when I subtract, what do I get? 4 minus 4 gives me 0. And x is equal to 7 minus 4 gives me 3. And here is my solution, that x is equal to 3. Okay? We can always, you always want to check the solution. Okay? And check. Basically, what are we doing? We are taking the original equation, which was x plus 4 is equal to 7. And then whatever we have solved and calculated for x, we are going to replace that value. So what did we say? X was 3. So we are going to substitute this value into x to see if it makes the equation true. And so x is how much? 3. So then we do 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. What is 3 plus 4? That is 7 is equal to 7. So yes, this is the solution and this is correct. So you always want to check your work to make sure that we haven't made any mistakes, okay? All right, so let's do another problem. And here we go. All right. So let's say I give you a problem and I say 8 is equal to x plus 3. 8 is equal to x plus 3. So first I'm going to show you using a model. Okay, so I'm going to place 8 1-tiles on the left side because this is 8, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on the left side, okay, is equal to what? We have 1x, okay, and 3 1-tiles on the right side. So we have 1x, this is an x, all right, and we have 1, 2, and 3. So this is what we have on the right side, okay? So now we're going to remove 3 tiles, 3 1-tiles from each side of the mat because we are trying to isolate the variable. So 1, 2, 3. Whatever I do on one side of the equation, I will have to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So 1, 2, 3. It's a balance. I've got to do whatever I do on one side, same thing on the other side. So then look at this. What am I left with? X is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x is equal to 5. All right. So this is the algebra tile method. Now, let me show you using the subtraction property of equality. So we have 8. Okay, 8 is equal to x plus 3. All right, so now we are going to again use the subtraction property of equality. We have written out the equation. Okay, we're going to use the subtraction property of equality, and we are going to subtract. What is the opposite of plus 3? It's minus 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. Remember, you've got to balance the equation because it's a balance. Whatever is on one side, same thing on the other. So that's why if I am subtracting 3 from here, I have to subtract 3 from the other side also. And this 3 minus 3 gives me 0. And so I'm left with x is equal to 8 minus 3 is 5. So here is my answer. I'm also going to show you another method, which is using a bar diagram. I'm trying to see where to show that to you. Maybe over here. Okay, let's use a bar diagram method. Okay, and so what I'm going to do, we are going to draw a bar diagram to represent the equation. Okay, so here is my bar diagram. I'm going to use this to represent my equation, and I'm going to say we have x, we have 3, and then the total amount is equal to 8. Total amount is equal to 8. So here is my bar diagram. So the total length of the bar represents 8, which represents the value of the equation. So therefore, what is the value of x? So we know that this is going to be 3 plus 5, this will be it, is going to give me 8. So this is another method. I just wanted to show that to you because you are familiar with this, okay? Then always check your solution, that did I get the correct answer. So in checking your solution, you are going to write the equation again. You're going to write 8 is equal to x plus 3. What did we calculate or solve, or what is the solution for x? That is 5. So we are going to substitute that value into x. So 8 is equal to 5 plus 3. And so 5 plus 3 is 8. So yes, that is correct. If this does not match up, then you have made a mistake and you want to go back and fix your work, okay? So remember, it's an equation. Both sides have got to be exactly the same thing. All right, let's solve another one, an addition equation. All right, and in this, I'm just going to use the subtraction property of equality. So here we go. Let's say I give you a problem and I say 3 3/4 plus m, 3 3/4 plus m is equal to 7 1/2. So if I give you something like this, you all are very familiar with fractions. So all we're going to do is follow the same principle that we have over here, okay? So we have got a fraction here. So what we're going to do is we are going to rewrite these fractions with a common denominator because we can't add or subtract with unlike denominators, okay? So if I have 3 3/4 Okay, if I have 3 and 3/4 plus m is equal to, we are going to make the denominators the same. So it's both got to be 4. So 2 times what gives me 4? 2 times 2, right? And whatever I do to the denominator, the same thing to the numerator. Okay, so this is it. So now I have the same denominators because when I'm adding or subtracting fractions, my denominator has got to be absolutely the same. Okay? So now we are going to, we have rewritten with the like denominators. And next we are going to use the subtraction property of equality. So this is 3/4 plus m. So we are going to subtract 3 and 3/4 on both sides. Whatever I do on one side, I have got to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Okay? So when I subtract, this gives me 0. So I'm left with just the variable. We're trying to find out what that is. Okay? And then I know that 7 here. I cannot take away 3 from 2. So I've got to regroup, right? So I am going to take away 1 from here, and 1 would be what? It would be literally, so this is 6, and this would become what? Plus the 4. Right? I'm just regrouping because I've taken 1, and if the denominator is 4, 1 whole is going to be 4/4. So that is why I wrote the plus 4, because I have removed 1 whole from the 7 since I cannot take away 3 from 2. So now if you look at my fraction, this is what I have. I have 6 and 6/4 minus 3 and 3/4. Okay, and now I can remove, subtract what I need to. What is 6 minus 3? Is 3. What is 6 minus 3? My numerator is going to be 3, and my denominator stays the same. Okay, so therefore I get, if I'm subtracting from here, the solution is going to be 3 and 3/4, and that's what m equals. All right, always check your solution. So to check, okay, check, go and write down the original equation, which was 3 and 3/4 plus m should equal 7 and 1/2. I'm going to substitute the value because what did I say m was? M is equal to 3 and 3/4. So 3 and 3/4 plus 3 and 3/4 should equal 7 and 1/2. Okay, and if I'm looking at this, what 3 plus 3 is 6, and then 3 plus 3 is 6/4 should equal 7 and 1/2. We are again going to regroup because this numerator is greater. Okay, and so I'm going to 4/4 is 1 whole, so I'm going to take that away, and that gives me 7 and 2/4, which is nothing but 7 and 1/2 is equal to 7 and 1/2. So therefore this is a correct solution for this. All right, so that is how we calculate using fractions. Now let's do one last problem, and this is going to apply to money. All right, and so I'm going to take you back to my board. Okay, so here we go. We have a question which says an online bookstore is having a sale on mysteries. The table shows the cost of each book format. Abigail has $70 to spend. So the total amount that Abigail has is $70. Okay, and she bought 2 paperbacks, 2 of these, 1 hardcover, 1 of this, all right, and 1 ebook, 1 ebook. Write an addition equation that can be used to determine how much more money Abigail still has to spend. Then solve the equation. So we are going to look at this, and we know that she spent how many? 2 paperbacks. So paperbacks each is this much, and she bought 2 of these, right? So it's going to be 2 times $8.25. She spent this much. Plus, what did she buy? She bought 1 hardcover. So she bought 2 of these. She bought 1 of this. So the hardcover is $19.49. Plus, what did she buy? She bought 1 ebook, which is $10.99. And then we are trying to see how much more money does she have. So I'm just going to write plus X, because that is representing how much money do we still have. When she had a total of how much? She had a total of $70, right? So when we are solving all of this, I know that if I do 2 times 8 and 2,500, I am going to get $16.50, all right, plus $19.49, plus $10.99, plus X will equal 70. So then next what I'm going to do is I am going to add up all the like terms which are here. Okay, and when I add up all the like terms, I'm going to get $46.98. Okay, so $46.98 plus X is equal to 70. And then I'm going to use the subtraction property of equality, and I am going to subtract $46.98 from both sides of the equation. Okay, from both sides of the equation. And then I have, obviously we're going to do this. All right, X is equal to, and when I subtract it, I get $23.02. Okay, so my final answer, this is how much I'm going to have left over, $23.02. But this is how you write out an equation and then you solve it. All right. So basically that's what this entire lesson is about. These are one-step addition equations, and you are basically using inverse operations. You're using the subtraction property of equality in order to solve one-step addition equations. All right. Have a fabulous day, everyone.